In a world where global tensions are rising faster than ever, Canada's safety isn't something to take for granted. Its defense depends on powerful friendships that could mean the difference between peace and chaos. Today, we're diving deep into the 10 countries that would defend Canada no matter what in 2025. Because knowing who's truly got your back is more important than ever. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Number 10, Norway. Now you might be thinking, Norway? The peaceful Arctic wonderland? But don't let the fjords and minimalist furniture fool you. Norway is one of Canada's most quietly loyal military allies. Both countries are members of NATO, meaning they are legally bound by Article 5. If one is attacked, the others respond as if it were an attack on all. But for Norway and Canada, the bond goes even deeper, especially when it comes to Arctic defense. With climate change opening up the Northwest Passage, the Arctic is no longer a frozen wasteland. It's now a geopolitical prize. Canada and Norway have been working side by side in Arctic defense operations for decades. In fact, their collaboration strengthened with a 2023 bilateral Arctic Surveillance Pact, which included shared drone tech, satellite monitoring, and real-time naval coordination. Both countries also maintain Arctic specialized troops, Norway's Home Guard and Canada's 5,000-strong Rangers. These forces train in similar icy conditions and regularly participate in joint NATO exercises like Cold Response, held just 200 miles from the Arctic Circle. Add to that the fact that both countries are among the world's top 10 donors to Ukraine, aligning them politically as defenders of Western democracy. Norway also invests heavily in Canadian green energy startups, over $2.1 billion since 2020. So, if Canada was under threat, Norway wouldn't just watch politely from the sidelines. They'd be there, snow boots on and winter camo zipped up. Number 9, Japan. Here's one you might not expect at first glance, but Japan and Canada are quietly forming one of the strongest modern alliances outside of NATO. As of 2025, Japan is Canada's fourth largest trading partner in Asia, with $18.9 billion in two-way trade recorded in 2023. The two nations also signed a joint security cooperation framework in late 2022, which expanded their military and intelligence sharing across 4 key areas: cybersecurity, maritime security, disaster response, and space monitoring. And while Japan isn't part of NATO, it is part of the G7 and maintains a strong informal military connection with Canada through the G7 Rapid Response Mechanism, aimed at deterring foreign threats and hybrid warfare. Canada, in turn, has increased its naval presence in the Pacific, joining Japan in joint drills near the East China Sea to project a united front against growing Chinese military activity in the region. Japan even invited Canadian warships to dock in Yokosuka as part of a broader defense exercise involving over 30,000 personnel from allied nations. Beyond defense, there's cultural and diplomatic goodwill. Canada has a significant Japanese diaspora, over 120,000 Canadians of Japanese descent, and a thriving Japanese-Canadian business community, particularly in Vancouver and Toronto. Polls in 2024 showed that 73% of Japanese citizens had a favorable view of Canada, and nearly 60% supported joint military collaboration. So, in times of trouble, don't underestimate Japan. Behind that calm, polite demeanor is a country ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with Canada, especially when the Indo-Pacific balance is on the line. Number 8, Australia. Think of Australia as Canada's cousin from the other side of the globe. Same language, same colonial roots, same sense of humor, and now, same defense priorities. The relationship isn't just symbolic. Australia and Canada have signed multiple bilateral defense agreements over the years, most recently the Mutual Logistics Support Arrangement, MLSA, in 2021. This agreement allows the two countries to share ammunition, fuel, repair services, and even access to military bases during joint operations. Australia is a fellow member of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, alongside the US, UK, and New Zealand. This group shares highly classified intel, arguably one of the strongest trust-based alliances in the modern world. In fact, during Exercise Talisman Sabre 2023, Canada deployed over 800 personnel to work alongside Australian forces in maritime and amphibious operations. That's not a symbolic gesture. That's real boots on the ground. Beyond defense, Australians just like Canadians. According to a 2024 Pew Global Attitude Survey, 78% of Australians viewed Canada favorably, and 65% said they'd support Australia defending Canada if it were attacked. That's an incredibly high number for an issue that rarely hits the news. And let's not forget the economic ties. Two-way trade between Canada and Australia reached $5.4 billion in 2023, and both countries invest heavily in each other's energy, tech, and education sectors. So yes, if Canada ever found itself under threat, Australia wouldn't just send a tweet. They'd send tanks and probably a care package of Tim Tam. Number 7. United Kingdom. No surprises here. The UK and Canada go way back. Commonwealth ties, shared monarchs, and 2 world wars fought side by side. But while history is the emotional glue, the real-world defense cooperation is what matters in 2025. In 2022, the two nations signed the Canada-United Kingdom Joint Declaration on Defense and Security Cooperation, laying out plans for joint cybersecurity operations, intelligence sharing, naval deployment, and enhanced training exercises between their armies and air forces. Over 4.6 million Canadians claim British ancestry, and many regions, especially Ontario and British Columbia, maintain active cultural and institutional ties with the UK economically. Bilateral trade hit $28.4 billion in 2023, and defense-specific collaboration includes joint naval exercises like Operation Cutlass Fury in the North Atlantic. But here's the kicker. The UK's Royal Navy and Canada's Royal Canadian Navy maintain interoperable standards, meaning they can operate on each other's ships, use the same communication protocols, and even swap personnel during missions. That's not just cooperation, that's military fusion. And don't forget about the Five Eyes, where Canada and the UK share real-time classified intelligence daily. From cyber threats to terrorism, they've got each other's back. So if anyone threatened Canada, the UK wouldn't wait for permission. They'd already be in the North Atlantic, ships loaded and ready. Number 6, Germany. Now here's one that might fly under the radar, but Germany and Canada have become defense buddies in a major way over the last few years. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Germany has dramatically shifted its foreign policy from passive to proactive, increasing defense spending by 100 billion euros and taking on a bigger role in NATO. Canada and Germany have collaborated directly on missions in Latvia and Lithuania as part of NATO's enhanced forward presence, where over 1,500 Canadian and German troops are stationed side by side. In 2023, the two countries launched the Canada-Germany Strategic Partnership on Energy Security, focusing on clean hydrogen exports, LNG terminals, and critical minerals. This isn't just about economics. It's about securing energy independence from Russia and reducing European vulnerability to geopolitical blackmail. Canada's role as a stable energy provider gives it a unique strategic value that Germany wants to protect. Culturally and diplomatically, ties have never been stronger. Over 400,000 Canadians are of German descent, and the two countries have active educational and business exchanges. Berlin and Ottawa also signed a cyber defense accord in 2022, allowing for joint cybersecurity protocols and information sharing on AI-based warfare and digital threats. In plain terms, Germany sees Canada as a key player in maintaining Western resilience. If Canada came under attack, Germany wouldn't hesitate to step in, because protecting Canada helps protect Europe's energy and technological lifelines too. Number 5, France. France isn't just about wine, cheese, and existentialism. It's one of Canada's oldest allies, both culturally and militarily. The connection goes back over 400 years, with over 9.4 million Canadians claiming French ancestry and nearly 8 million speaking French as a first language. Quebec alone keeps this bond alive daily, but the real firepower comes in the form of France's military commitments and diplomatic consistency. In 2023, France and Canada updated their defense cooperation agreement, which includes intelligence sharing, cyber operations, naval coordination, and crisis response drills. French forces regularly participate in NATO operations with Canadian troops, including the Baltic region, where over 500 French and 700 Canadian soldiers have conducted joint exercises to deter Russian aggression. Economically, France and Canada have a growing partnership through the CTA trade deal, with $12.1 billion in trade between them in 2023. But beyond money, France sees Canada as a key transatlantic partner in upholding democratic values. The two also cooperate in Francophonie peacekeeping missions, particularly in Africa, where both nations have troops deployed in Mali and the Sahel region. And here's the cherry on top. France is nuclear armed with over 290 warheads, and it has stated multiple times that it will uphold the collective defense clause under NATO, especially for countries with shared language, history, and values. That includes Canada. If anyone messes with Canada, France won't just raise an eyebrow, they'll raise the stakes. Number 4. New Zealand. Tiny? Yes. Fierce? Also yes. New Zealand may be geographically isolated, but when it comes to defending Canada, they'd be there faster than you can say Haka. Like Canada, New Zealand is a member of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, and they've quietly become one of Canada's most trusted military partners, especially in the Pacific. The two countries signed the Canada-New Zealand Enhanced Defense Partnership in 2022, covering joint military training, cyber defense, and humanitarian operations. In fact, during joint exercises like RIMPAC 2024, New Zealand and Canada co-led a maritime task force of 30 ships and 14 nations, demonstrating deep interoperability. New Zealand's elite SAS units have also trained with Canadian Special Forces in jungle and mountain warfare environments. Even culturally, the two nations are aligned. Both are progressive democracies, members of the Commonwealth, and have indigenous reconciliation movements. In a 2024 Global Trust Index, 81% of New Zealanders viewed Canada favorably, while 72% of Canadians viewed New Zealand the same way. Economically, while small, trade between the two reached $1.2 billion in 2023, modest but growing fast, especially in clean tech and defense manufacturing. When you combine military training, intelligence cooperation, and values-driven diplomacy, New Zealand's loyalty isn't about size. It's about consistency. And if Canada needed boots on the ground, Kiwis would be lacing theirs up without hesitation. Number 3. United States. Okay, friends, let's be honest. This was inevitable. Canada and the U.S. share the longest undefended border in the world, 8,891 kilometers, stretching from the Pacific to the Atlantic. But it's more than just geography. The U.S. and Canada are tied together by over $2.6 billion in daily trade, deeply integrated defense systems, and mutual defense agreements like NORAD, which jointly monitors North American aerospace. NORAD alone is a game changer. Canada and the U.S. share radar systems, air command centers, and early warning satellites. If Canada were ever attacked by air, American jets would scramble just as fast as Canadian ones. And don't forget, the U.S. has over 800 military bases worldwide, many designed to project power instantly to protect key allies. In terms of sheer firepower, the U.S. military spends over $880 billion per year, with 1.3 million active duty troops. So yes, they'd show up, and in force. Politically, the countries are closely aligned on democracy, climate change, NATO, and even Arctic sovereignty. They've conducted over 80 joint training missions in the last 5 years alone, many of them focusing on cyber threats, terrorism, and hybrid warfare. And despite the occasional cross-border teasing over healthcare or hockey, 82% of Americans in a 2024 Gallup poll said they viewed Canada favorably. With public opinion, economic interdependence, and military cooperation all aligned, the U.S. would defend Canada, no question, and probably apologize if they were late. Number 2, Netherlands. This one might surprise you, but the Netherlands is one of Canada's fiercest European allies, and the love is mutual. During World War II, Canada liberated much of the Netherlands from Nazi occupation. And the Dutch have never forgotten. Every year, Dutch citizens still send 20,000 tulip bulbs to Ottawa in gratitude. That's not symbolic, it's sacred. Military cooperation is just as real. Dutch and Canadian troops have served side by side in Afghanistan, Iraq, and the Baltics under NATO operations. In 2023, the two nations launched the Dutch-Canadian Military Mobility Initiative, improving the movement of troops and equipment across Europe and North America. The Netherlands is also a hub for joint NATO cyber warfare research, which Canada contributes to heavily. Economically, Dutch investment in Canada hit $107 billion in 2023, making them one of the top 5 foreign investors. They're also major partners in clean energy and agricultural tech. On the humanitarian front, the Netherlands supports Canadian-led refugee initiatives and peacekeeping efforts in Africa and Southeast Asia. In public sentiment, the countries are even closer. A 2024 survey showed 85% of Dutch citizens had a favorable opinion of Canada, the highest in Europe. And when asked if they'd support military intervention to protect Canada, 63% said yes, an astonishing number for a peace-loving nation. So if Canada ever found itself in deep trouble, you better believe Dutch forces would be on the first plane, with boots, drones, and probably some stroopwafels. Number 1, Ukraine. You heard that right? Ukraine may not have the biggest economy or the most global influence, but in 2025, no country has more reason or more will to defend its true allies, and Canada is right at the top of that list. Since Russia's invasion in 2022, Canada has provided Ukraine with over $13 billion in military, humanitarian, and financial aid. Canada has trained more than 36,000 Ukrainian soldiers through Operation Unifier and has hosted over 230,000 Ukrainian refugees, the largest intake per capita outside of Europe. This isn't just charity, it's loyalty. Ukraine has gone out of its way to recognize Canada's support, publicly and diplomatically. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called Canada a brother in arms on multiple occasions, and Canadian-made armored vehicles, artillery, and drone systems have been crucial in repelling Russian forces. In 2024, the Ukrainian parliament approved a defense pact with Canada, promising future military collaboration, intelligence sharing, and cyber cooperation. While Ukraine isn't a NATO member yet, it is pushing for an expanded defense network that includes its closest allies, Canada first among them. And here's where it gets real. Ukrainians understand the value of defending friends. They've watched Western democracies waver, and they know who stood firm. If Canada were ever in danger, you can bet Ukraine, battle-hardened, fiercely loyal, and deeply grateful, would be on the front lines. They might not have the deepest pockets, but they've got the deepest respect. And sometimes, that's the ally you need most. So there you have it. 10 countries ready to stand with Canada through thick and thin, proving that true alliances go beyond borders and politics. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more deep dives like this. Thanks for watching, friends. Stay curious, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.